The city lay in silence beneath a thick, suffocating night. Streetlights flickered against the deserted roads, their glow barely cutting through the creeping fog that coiled through the alleyways. The Lingshan Museum, an ancient fortress of history and forgotten relics, stood tall and unwavering, its cold stone facade untouched by time. Inside, the silence was absolute. The faint hum of the security systems was the only sound accompanying Henderson, the museum's night guard, as he made his usual rounds. His heavy boots echoed against the marble floors, the rhythmic steps a familiar presence in the vast emptiness of the museum halls. He had walked these corridors 100 times before. The same artifacts, the same shadows stretching across the walls. Yet, something about tonight felt different. The air was thicker, heavier. A creeping sensation lingered at the back of his mind, a primal instinct whispering that something was wrong. Then a sound. Soft, faint, like a whisper carried by an invisible breath. Henderson stopped. His flashlight traced the vast hall of Chinese antiquities, scanning the room until it landed on the Jade Eye's amulet, the museum's most prized artifact. The ancient jade shimmered beneath the dim security lighting, its surface carved with delicate, intricate symbols. Another sound. Closer. His grip on the flashlight tightened. His breath slowed, ears straining against the silence. He turned slightly, a cold unease pressing into his spine. Nothing. Then the glass cracked. A thin fracture splintered across the display case. Then another. The sound was sharp, precise like ice splitting under the weight of a frozen lake. Henderson took an instinctive step back, pulse hammering against his ribs. His free hand moved toward his radio. The glass shattered. A deafening snap filled the room as shards exploded outward, scattering like jagged stars against the marble floor. Henderson shielded his face, heart slamming against his chest. And the amulet was gone. His breath caught. His hands trembled as he brought the radio to his lips. Static. No signal, no connection. Then something moved. A shadow shifting along the far wall. But it wasn't cast by the lights. It wasn't attached to anything. It moved of its own accord, twisting unnaturally, stretching like ink spilled in water. Henderson's body refused to move. His mind screamed to run, but his feet were rooted to the floor. The shadow grew, and in a single breathless moment, he disappeared. By morning, so had the amulet. News of the impossible theft spread fast. The security footage was a dead end. No intruder, no forced entry. The video only showed the glass breaking on its own. And then Henderson's last recorded moment, a frozen frame. A shadow twisting along the wall. The police were at a loss. No fingerprints, no footprints, no rational explanation. But there was one group that specialized in cases like this. The mystery machine rumbled down the damp city streets, headlights slicing through the morning mist. Fred gripped the wheel, eyes locked on the road ahead, his mind already racing through possibilities. Daphne, sitting beside him, flipped through the newspaper. Her brows furrowed as she skimmed the bold black headline. Cursed relic, guard vanishes after mysterious museum heist. Velma adjusted her glasses, reading aloud. According to legend, anyone who steals the Jade Eye's amulet will be haunted by the guardian of shadows until their sight is taken forever. Shaggy paled. Gee, guys, maybe we should, pick a different case? Scooby gulped. Row. Fred smirked. We don't believe in ghosts, remember? Whatever happened in that museum, we'll find the truth. The van turned the final corner, and the Lingshan Museum emerged through the mist. Tall, cold, waiting. Whatever mystery lurked inside, it was only just beginning. The Lingshan Museum stood before them, its towering stone columns casting long, jagged shadows under the dim glow of the streetlights. The air was thick, almost suffocating, carrying the scent of damp stone and aged wood. A cold breeze curled through the iron gates, making them creak as they swung open. Fred pulled the mystery machine into the side lot, parking under a flickering lamppost. The deep hum of the city barely reached them, as if the museum itself existed in another realm isolated, untouched by time. The team sat in silence for a brief moment. Shaggy tightened his grip on Scooby, staring uneasily at the entrance. Like, I already don't like this place. His voice wavered slightly, and Scooby nodded in agreement. Really don't like it, the Great Dane added, his tail curling between his legs. Fred exhaled, adjusting his ascot before pushing open the van door. Come on, guys. We've handled haunted places before. His voice was steady, filled with quiet determination. Velma stepped out next, adjusting her glasses as she studied the towering building. And they always have a logical explanation. Her tone was firm, but the way she hesitated slightly suggested she was just as unsettled. At the entrance, Officer Grant, one of the museum's night guards, stood waiting for them. His uniform was slightly unkempt, dark circles shadowing his eyes. He rubbed the back of his neck, exhaustion clear in his posture. You the mystery kids? His voice was gruff, laced with skepticism. Didn't think we'd need outside help, but here we are. Fred offered a firm handshake, stepping forward. Tell us everything that happened. Grant sighed, glancing at the locked doors behind him. The cameras caught the glass case breaking, but there was no one there. Henderson? Gone. Just vanished. He shook his head, as if trying to make sense of it himself. No struggle. No alarms. Just empty air where he used to be. Daphne furrowed her brows. Then let's take a look for ourselves. Grant hesitated, fingers tightening around his keyring before unlocking the heavy doors. Be careful. Something isn't right in there. With a deep, reluctant breath, he pushed them open. The doors groaned against their hinges, revealing a vast, yawning darkness. The museum swallowed them whole. The main hall stretched before them, an expanse of ancient relics and towering statues, bathed in the dim glow of security lights. The air was thick with the scent of aged parchment, dust, and cold stone. Every footstep echoed, the sound swallowed by the cavernous space. Then, the team's eyes fell on the shattered display case at the center of the room. Velma crouched beside the glass shards, running a careful hand along their edges. Her brows knitted together in deep concentration. This wasn't just broken. Something forced its way out. Shaggy swallowed hard, glancing nervously around the hall. You mean the amulet escaped? His voice cracked slightly, and he took an instinctive step back. Scooby let out a low whimper, his ears flattened against his skull. Velma shook her head. Daphne turned sharply, her pulse quickening. Did you hear that? Shaggy nodded frantically, his knuckles white against Scooby's fur. Maybe it's just the wind? His voice lacked conviction. Velma frowned, adjusting her glasses. There's no wind in a closed museum, Shaggy. The sound came again. Closer. Fred's flashlight swept across the room, landing on an ancient tapestry hanging along the far wall. It depicted a regal emperor, seated on a golden throne, surrounded by dragons and celestial symbols. Something was wrong. Fred's breath hitched slightly as he pointed. Where's the emperor's shadow? Daphne stepped closer, her fingers grazing the fabric. What do you mean? Her voice was quiet, but there was an unmistakable edge to it. Fred's grip on his flashlight tightened. Everything else in the tapestry has a shadow. The palace. The dragons. But the emperor? Nothing. Shaggy let out a nervous laugh, though it held no humor. Maybe the artist, forgot? Velma slowly shook her head. No, this tapestry is famous. The emperor always had a shadow. Scooby whimpered again. A sudden gust of air curled through the room, impossibly cold for an enclosed space. The flashlights flickered. The shadows seemed to shift, stretching across the walls unnaturally. Then one of them moved. not cast by any object, not cast by them. It slithered up the wall, untethered to any source of light. Daphne's breath caught. That moved. Fred took a firm step forward, flashlight raised. "Who's there?" His voice was steady, commanding. No answer. Only the distant hum of the museum's security systems. Then the lights went out. Total darkness. A whisper echoed through the void. It was not in English, not in any language they recognized. The voice was deep, cold, hollow. Then a single chilling word, barely more than a breath. "Leave." The lights snapped back on. The group stood frozen. Daphne wrapped her arms around herself, trying to still the shiver running through her. That was real. Fred's jaw tightened. "We're not alone in here." Velma exhaled slowly, fingers curling around her notebook. "We need answers. Fast." Shaggy raised a trembling hand. "Or, hear me out. We could, not?" Scooby nodded furiously. Fred turned back toward the shattered display case, eyes dark with resolve. "That amulet. Someone took it? Why?" Velma adjusted her glasses, scanning her notes. "The legend says it's a key. But a key to what?" Fred's eyes flickered to the tapestry. "Let's find out." Behind them, the shadows lingered, just a moment too long. The Lingshen Museum loomed before them, a monolithic structure of stone and history. Its towering columns cast jagged shadows beneath the dim glow of streetlights. The iron gates groaned as they swung open, revealing a vast emptiness inside. Fred parked the mystery machine near the entrance, cutting the engine. Silence settled over them. Shaggy clutched Scooby. "I already don't like this place," Scooby whined. "Really don't like it." Fred stepped out first, adjusting his scarf. "Come on. We've handled haunted places before." Velma studied the building, adjusting her glasses. "And they always have a logical explanation." At the entrance, Officer Grant, a security guard, waited for them. His uniform was wrinkled, exhaustion evident in his posture. "You the mystery kids?" His tone was skeptical. "Didn't think we needed help, but here we are." Fred extended a handshake. "Tell us what happened," Grant sighed. "The glass case broke, but the camera saw no one. Anderson? Gone. Just vanished." Daphne frowned. "Then let's see it for ourselves." Grant hesitated, then unlocked the museum doors. "Be careful. Something isn't right in there." The doors groaned open, revealing a dark, cavernous space. The museum swallowed them whole. The main hall stretched before them, a vast gallery of relics bathed in the dim glow of security lights. The air smelled of dust and aged parchment. Their footsteps echoed through the stillness. Their eyes fell on the shattered display case at the center of the room. Velma knelt beside the glass shards, examining them closely. This wasn't just broken. Something forced its way out. Shaggy swallowed hard. "You mean the amulet escaped?" Scooby whimpered. Velma shook her head. "No, but something made this happen." Fred studied the pedestal, running his hand along its stone base. "If no one broke in, then what did this?" A sound, soft, barely audible. From the far end of the hall, Daphne turned sharply. "Did you hear that?" Shaggy nodded frantically. Maybe it's just the wind?" Velma frowned. "There's no wind in a closed museum, Shaggy." The sound came again. Closer. Fred's flashlight illuminated an ancient tapestry hanging on the wall. It depicted an emperor seated on a golden throne, surrounded by celestial symbols. Something was wrong. Fred pointed. "Where's the emperor's shadow?" Daphne frowned. "What do you mean?" Fred took a step closer, his flashlight steady. "Everything else in the tapestry has a shadow. The palace, the dragons, but the emperor? Nothing." Shaggy let out a nervous chuckle. Maybe the artist, forgot?" Velma shook her head. "No, this tapestry is famous. The emperor always had a shadow." Scooby whimpered. A sudden gust of cold air brushed past them. The flashlights flickered. The shadows on the wall shifted. Then one of them moved, not from their bodies, not from the lighting. It slithered up the wall, untethered to any physical source. Daphne's breath caught. That moved. Fred stepped forward, jaw clenched. "Who's there?" Silence. Nothing but their own breathing. Then the lights went out. Total darkness. A whisper. Cold. Hollow. Then, a single word. "Leave." The lights snapped back on. They stood frozen. Daphne hugged herself. That was real. Fred's jaw tightened. "We're not alone in here." Velma exhaled, trying to steady her voice. "We need answers. Fast." Shaggy raised a trembling hand. "Or, hear me out. We could not?" Scooby nodded furiously. Fred turned back toward the shattered display case. "That amulet. Someone took it. Why?" Velma adjusted her glasses. "The legend says it's a key, but a key to what?" Fred's eyes flickered to the tapestry. "Let's find out." Behind them, the shadows lingered just a second too long. The walls of the Lingshen Museum seemed to close in as the team stood in front of the hidden passageway. The air had shifted thicker, colder, charged with something unseen. Dust swirled in the dim glow of their flashlights, the ancient stone staircase descending into unknown darkness. Velma adjusted her glasses, gripping her notebook tightly. According to Dr. Wu's notes, this passage was built centuries ago, possibly even before the museum itself. It was meant to seal away something. Fred ran his fingers along the stone doorway, its edges worn smooth by time. A secret room, hidden behind the amulet's pedestal. Someone knew about this place. His voice was steady, but the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes did not go unnoticed. Daphne shivered, rubbing her arms. And if they knew about it, it means they could still be down there. Shaggy took a hesitant step back. "Great. So, maybe we should just, let them have whatever's in there? No need to disturb creepy underground stuff." Scooby nodded quickly. "Ruh-roh, no need at all." Fred glanced at Velma. "If the amulet was stolen for a reason, we need to find out why. Whatever's down there could give us answers." Velma sighed, flipping through the notes she had scribbled in Dr. Wu's journal. The writing is fragmented, but one phrase keeps repeating. The eyes must remain sealed. Whatever it means, Dr. Wu believed that breaking that seal was dangerous. Daphne hesitated before stepping toward the darkened stairwell. Only one way to find out. Fred nodded, turning on his flashlight. Stay close. No splitting up. And with that, they began their descent. The stone steps stretched deep beneath the museum, narrowing as they spiraled downward. The walls, rough and uneven, more faded carvings, ancient symbols that time had nearly erased. Their flashlights barely penetrated the thick gloom, the beams trembling against the shadows. Shaggy's breath came in quick, nervous bursts. "You guys are sure this is a good idea, right?" Velma traced her fingers over the engravings. "These markings, they're different from the ones in the main hall. They look like warnings." Daphne's voice was hushed. "Warnings for what?" A whisper echoed through the passage. Not from any of them. Soft, faint. Fred stopped abruptly, scanning the darkness ahead. Did anyone else hear that? Shaggy's grip on Scooby tightened. "Yep, sure did. Definitely a whisper." "A spooky. Don't go any further whisper." Scooby whimpered. The whisper came again. Then a scraping sound. Something moved in the dark ahead. Fred raised his flashlight. The beam caught a doorway at the base of the stairs, a massive stone slab covered in the same symbols from Dr. Wu's journal. Velma swallowed hard. This is it. Daphne ran her hand along the cold stone. It looks like a vault. Maybe it was meant to keep people out. Fred pushed against the stone, testing its weight. Or keep something in. The whispering grew louder. The symbols on the door seemed to shift under their flashlights as if reacting to their presence. Then, with a deep, grating rumble, the stone began to slide open. A gust of icy air swept past them, carrying the scent of something old, something long buried. Daphne took a step back. I have a bad feeling about this. The passage yawned open before them, revealing a chamber bathed in eerie green light. And at the center, a second amulet, identical to the Jade Eyes amulet, but black, made of something darker than stone. Velma's voice barely rose above a whisper. That's not jade. The shadows around them moved. Shaggy let out a strangled yelp. Oh no, nope. This is where we run. Scooby turned on his heels, ready to bolt. But the door behind them slammed shut. A deep, guttural voice filled the chamber. Not one voice. Many. You should not have come. The shadows surged forward, and the room plunged into darkness. The underground chamber felt smaller now, the weight of unseen eyes pressing in from the darkness. The journal in Velma's hands trembled slightly, her fingers gripping its aged pages. Fred's voice was low but firm. We need to figure out what Dr. Wu meant. The curse? Something worse? Worse than what? Velma's eyes scanned the last page again. He didn't fear the amulet. He feared what it was hiding. Shaggy backed up toward the wall, scanning the shadows nervously. Wow, whatever it is, it's still here. I'd rather not find out why. Scooby nodded, tail between his legs. Daphne pointed toward the pedestal in the center of the room. If this place was built to hide something, it would have to be behind or beneath it. Fred stepped forward, examining the base of the pedestal. It was old stone, cracked with age. There's something underneath. Velma knelt beside him. It's hollow. Fred braced himself, and then he pushed. A deep rumbling echoed through the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The pedestal shifted, revealing a hidden compartment beneath it. Inside was a wooden box, small, ancient. Velma reached for it. The moment her fingers touched the surface, the whispering returned. Low, cold, everywhere. You should not have come. The torches flickered violently. A gust of air icy, unnatural swept through the chamber. The shadows moved. Then they rose. It wasn't just one shadow now. There were many, stretching, writhing, surrounding them. Scooby yelped. Shaggy grabbed him, voice trembling. I knew this was a bad idea. I knew it. The largest shadow shifted forward, its form twisting into something almost human. Then it spoke. Return what was stolen, or be lost to the dark. The voice wasn't loud, but it crawled inside their heads, sinking into their bones. Fred stepped in front of the others. Who are you? What do you want? The shadow loomed closer. We were left behind, forgotten. The curse is not ours. It was placed upon us. Velma's breath caught. They're not the curse. They were cursed. Daphne's voice was tight. Then what's the real danger? Velma hesitated. I don't know. Fred turned back to the box in Velma's hands. Only one way to find out. Fred opened the box. Inside lay a second amulet, identical to the Jade Eyes amulet, but this one was black, made of something darker than stone, and carved into its surface an unfamiliar symbol. Velma's eyes widened. This isn't jade. The shadows reacted immediately. The wall shook. A voice deeper, angrier filled the chamber. You have broken the seal. The torches all went out. Darkness swallowed them whole. Fred's voice was urgent. We need to get out of here. Now. Velma clutched the box. This isn't a relic. It's a prison. The floor cracked beneath them. Something was waking up. Daphne grabbed Shaggy's arm, pulling him toward the exit. Move! The shadows lunged. Scooby barked in terror. Shaggy screamed. Fred pushed forward. The stairway to the museum was collapsing. They ran. Behind them, the darkness followed. a deep guttural whisper. You cannot run from the past. And then, they were back inside the museum. The stone door slammed shut behind them. The whispers stopped. The shadows were gone. Only silence remained. The team stood in the ruined main hall of the museum, gasping for breath. Velma slowly opened her hand. The black amulet was still there. Daphne spoke first. We were never supposed to find that place, were we? Velma swallowed hard. No. Fred turned toward the exit. Then let's make sure no one else ever does. The Lingshen Museum was silent again, but the weight of what had happened lingered in the air. Dust settled around them, and the ancient stone door leading to the hidden chamber remained shut tight. No one spoke for a long moment. Shaggy was the first to break the silence. So, we all agree we never talk about this again, right? Scooby nodded furiously. Never again. Fred wiped the sweat from his forehead, still catching his breath. We don't even know what we were dealing with down there. Velma turned the black amulet in her hands, the strange dark material absorbing the light rather than reflecting it. We do now. Daphne glanced at her. What do you mean? Velma exhaled slowly. I was wrong. The Jade Eyes amulet isn't cursed. It was never the source of the legend. Fred's brow furrowed. Then what was? Velma held up the black amulet. This. The room felt colder. The others stared at it, unease creeping into their expressions. Shaggy took a cautious step back. And, why exactly are you still holding it? Velma adjusted her glasses, voice steady but grim. The legend says the Guardian of Shadows haunts those who steal the Jade Eyes amulet. But that's a lie. The truth was buried literally. She looked back toward the sealed chamber. The real curse was never the jade. Daphne finished the thought. It was what the jade was hiding. Velma nodded. Dr. Wu didn't disappear because he was afraid of the amulet. He disappeared because he knew the truth. He found this. She lifted the black amulet and tried to keep it hidden. That's why he left a warning in his journal. Fred's expression darkened. Because whatever this thing is, it was never supposed to be found. A shiver passed through the group. Shaggy hugged Scooby. Okay, so we have a cursed, shadow-summoning doom rock. What do we do with it? Scooby whimpered. Velma hesitated. We can't keep it. Daphne crossed her arms. Then we put it back. Fred nodded. Agreed. But when Velma moved toward the sealed stone door, it wouldn't budge. The shadows around them stretched unnaturally. A whisper faint, distant returned. Too late. The light stabilized. Daphne whispered. It doesn't want to go back. It just wants to stay hidden. Velma adjusted her glasses. Then that's exactly what we'll do. She grabbed an empty artifact case and placed the black amulet inside. Fred locked it. Shaggy took a deep breath. So, just to be clear, we're leaving that thing here, forever, and never telling anyone it exists? Velma nodded. Exactly. Daphne shivered. Good. Let's get out of here. They made their way to the museum's main exit, stepping out into the crisp night air. The stars shone brighter. The weight on their chests felt lighter. Fred turned back, staring at the museum's dark windows. For a moment, he swore he saw a figure watching them. Then, it was gone. Shaggy stretched. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I need like 10 sandwiches and a week-long map. Scooby grinned. Me too. Daphne shook her head. I just want to forget we ever saw that place. Velma exhaled. Let's hope it stays forgotten. Fred started the mystery machine, the engine humming softly. Let's get out of here. They drove away, and behind them, the museum remained still, silent, waiting. The case holding the black amulet sat untouched inside the main hall. But just as the headlights of the van disappeared down the street, a single whisper filled the darkness. Not forgotten.